Piastri has ended his teammate's streak by pressuring Lando Norris. He must win and avoid mistakes in Hungary, or his fight will be even more uphill. Welcome to the 14th round of the Formula 1 World Championship, the Hungarian Grand Prix. Are we about to reach summer break? Just to clarify. This battle is an exclusive fight between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who have kept the fight quite calm so far. The rivalry could erupt at any time as both realize their window to become world champions is closing. And the battle will continue at the revamped Hungarian circuit, known as the Hungaroring, called by some the karting track of Formula 1, an extremely technical track. After the debacle in Belgium, they must provide one final thrilling race before the break. Considering the rivalry between the McLaren drivers and their ongoing battles to lead the midfield and escape the bottom of the standings. The rivalry between Piastri and Norris flows calmly, but the closer they get to winning or losing the title, that will be the moment when this fight finally erupts. Let's begin the preview of the Hungarian Grand Prix 2025 Formula 1. There's no better phrase in this Formula 1 world than the show must go on. The battle for the 2025 champion continues as we await the decisive moment. This battle erupts, and Norris and Piastri are starting to come out with knives between their teeth, race after race. And just before the break, Formula 1 faces its own personal kartodrome, one of the most technical tracks on the calendar with difficult corners and few overtaking opportunities. But despite this, in recent years it has managed to deliver some very good races. So, it's time to familiarize ourselves with the venue that will host this Grand Prix. So let's go to the circuit section to analyze it completely and thoroughly. Magyarország, Hungary is home to the Hungaroring, a permanent racetrack situated about 20 km from Budapest. And it has been on the Formula 1 world calendar since that season. 1986, uninterrupted 4.3 kilometers of track, 70 laps, 14 corners, 2 drag reduction system activation zones, but only one potential area to make any overtaking maneuver. Characterized as a technical circuit with fast corners where surgeon-like precision is required. The first sector is by far the fastest of the 3 sectors on this circuit. It only has 3 corners, and in them are the longest straights on this track. What makes them special is that 2 of them are the only drag reduction system activation zones on this track. The first one is on the main straight and is activated immediately after turn 14. This entire straight is a drag reduction system activation zone. Its length is by far the longest on the entire track, and generally speaking, it's the best area for overtaking maneuvers on this circuit. But immediately as you exit the corner, the drag reduction system is activated again for this mini speed zone that goes all the way to turn 2. Its length is significantly shorter, so unless there's a very clear tire wear condition, it's not very easy to use it to overtake other drivers. And after going through the slow turn 2, you keep the throttle fully open all the way up to the climb at turn 4. And with that, the start of the second part of this Hungarian journey. The part of this circuit that most resembles a karting track is the combination of corners found in the second sector. It starts with the ultra-fast left turn of turn 4, which is by far the most difficult corner on this circuit, where you have to watch your line, your speed, and above all, make sure not to go beyond the limits at the exit of the corner or you risk being severely penalized. The slowest corners in this sector are the tricky chicane of 6 and 7. Slow turns with high curbs, and from there a series of fast linked left-right corners that prioritize the car's aerodynamic grip in extremely complex turns that require surgeon-like precision. It's the part that tests the car the most on this entire circuit. Where if you nail this section, you can make a huge difference when it comes to setting qualifying times. The key in this sector is traction, especially in turns 3 and 14. Slow, tight corners are crucial, especially the last turn. A good exit with traction sets you up better for what follows. It will be the opportunity that allows you to overtake when you get to the main straight. And with that, have a chance to get rid of slower rivals. On this circuit, it's so difficult to overtake. Don't let this circuit fool you. Yes, it's a technical track, but it's extremely fast, well deserved. Known as the karting track of Formula 1, this circuit demands a perfect qualifying result to achieve success due to its unique characteristics. On Saturday, in summary, speed and acceleration are crucial in the first sector, while grip and aerodynamic stability are key in the second. In cornering and in the third sector, the necessary traction when exiting each of the corners in this part of the track. As other data to take into account, this circuit has a low probability of a safety car appearing and maybe one of the lowest in the whole calendar. Since the implementation of this device in 1994, the safety car has only come out 6 times in more than 20 years in this competition. This is due to its runoff areas and the walls being far from the track, making accidents uncommon. And that's why the safety car appearance rate is only 38%. So unless some kind of chaos happens at the start or there's a reliability failure. Accidents don't usually happen during the race at this circuit, and therefore it's unlikely that the safety car will appear. At this circuit, traction is extremely punished throughout the lap due to the very special conditions of the corners on this track. While the brakes, although they are put to the test, are not as important in the setups as traction is, but even so they are essential elements. And the cars usually run with high downforce setups, since it's a circuit full of fast corners with only one long straight. And with those characteristics, this track only offers you one really key spot to make overtaking maneuvers. And it's found at the braking zone of turn 1 in combination with the main straight. Traction in the final corner is crucial for overtaking on this circuit. If you get better traction and slipstream your rival down the whole straight, along with the speed boost that drag reduction system gives you. Sometimes the driver brakes aggressively to capture the inside of the corner. Can you overtake on this track even if sometimes you can't overtake? At this point, there's the option to look for traction in the next section, and with the second drag reduction system zone, try to overtake in turn 2, but it's much more difficult to complete the overtaking maneuver here, especially since there's only this overtaking zone. This circuit requires strong qualifying results, as overtaking during the race is extremely challenging. So, on a scale from 1 to 5, the difficulty of overtaking on this track is a solid 4, very tough. So it's better to qualify well and keep the race calm, because it's very easy to get stuck behind another driver in a drag reduction system train if you end up having a bad qualifying session. In the Hungary pit lane, you drive at 80 km/h, allowing for quick transit. Its entrance is practically right next to the last corner, although it cuts it a bit, and its exit is on the main straight without any sudden deviations. So a pit stop including a tire change can be completed in about 21 seconds. And the tire wear on this circuit could be considered about average. The asphalt isn't particularly abrasive, but the tires do suffer quite a bit from the stress and the lateral loads they're subjected to in the corners, making this an intermediate level track in terms of tire wear. For this edition, Pirelli will bring their softest range, the C3, C4 and C5 compounds. Hungary, it's an extremely challenging circuit and another one that fits the characteristics of an old school track. It's a track that takes drivers back, at least a little, to where it all began for them in karting, and it's a complete treat. Watching how the cars take on this particular track. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a tough track for overtaking, and it requires a solid qualifying to stay out of trouble. And to win on this circuit, your precision in every corner has to be practically perfect. McLaren maintains its dominant performance in the 2025 season, demonstrating a lack of serious competition. And now, we just have to wait and see when their drivers will turn up the intensity of their battles as they fight for the Drivers' Championship. The latest team updates will arrive for this Grand Prix, from whatever they didn't bring to the last race in Belgium. So, this is pretty much the last chance to find some performance for these cars, before work on these 2025 single-seaters is completely closed. So all that remains is to analyze each team and driver individually. Of what awaits us at the Hungaroring circuit. McLaren continues advancing unchallenged, approaching dual World Championship titles. Piastri's victory over Norris in both the sprint and main race in Belgium increased the points difference to 16, favoring the Australian, who capitalized on his rival's mistakes to secure the win. And it's always the same story with Lando Norris. The driver suddenly performs brilliantly, winning without opposition before reverting to his usual silly mistakes. So the Brit needs to make a statement in the next race in Hungary to regain ground. And so that Oscar Piastri doesn't start pulling further ahead of him in the driver's standings? Because the closer we get to the end of this season, the more pressure will build for both drivers. The intensity of this rivalry, which currently remains calm between the two, will obviously increase. What can we expect from McLaren this weekend? Basically the usual. On this circuit, they will likely be favorites again on a track that highlights the car's strengths: tire management, traction and speed in fast corners. And we just have to see if the parts that were rumored to be brought to Belgium end up being brought to this Hungarian Grand Prix so they can test them properly. With the 3 free practice sessions we'll have since there's no sprint format. Is it that, or are we looking at the car that team will finish the season with, 2025? Now we wait to see if Norris and Piastri's rivalry finally ignites, and the rest of the races this season become more intense between both contenders for the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari's new suspension has worked according to the team, but reality has hit them again. And they know that McLaren is completely out of their league this season, and the only way to snatch a victory from them will be if the British team fails. Media outlets have confirmed that the development of the SF25 has been completely halted, which many had already suspected for some time. And the parts they'll install at the Hungarian Grand Prix will be the last ones we see for the entire season. Hungary will be another test to see how the car responds with the new suspension. This should significantly boost performance on a circuit like Hungary, solidifying its status as the second best car on the grid. So, we just have to see if those latest parts help them, at least to secure their position and get a little closer to the McLaren team. Mercedes is in total freefall. In Belgium, not even the low temperatures helped them, and they ended up as the fourth team once again in a race. They haven't recovered since the Canada win, and Russell is unable to fight and lost. Antonelli, who can't find confidence in the car and is coming off a worrying streak of bad results. It's known that Mercedes will have an important meeting that weekend to analyze the drop in performance and understand what's going wrong. But with the end of the development of these ground effect cars approaching, it seems very difficult for them to find a solution. The goal is to regain the pace they had early in the season. The positive is that they've identified the issue, and it's instability at the rear of the car when entering corners, and the single-seater has become extremely difficult to handle. But their solution seems much more complex, and for this weekend, with this type of circuit and the problems this car is suffering, we could be facing another difficult weekend for the Silver Arrows. But we'll see if those meetings have any positive effect, because if not, it will be a long road until the season arrives. 2026. Red Bull had a bittersweet Grand Prix at Spa because they got another win in the sprint, but then for the main race. After betting on changing the car's setup for the rain on Sunday, they had to settle for 4th place. The Bulls are anticipated to have a successful Grand Prix this weekend on a track that may suit their car well due to its features. With each passing race, Verstappen's slim chances of defending the driver's title diminish further. Speaking of Verstappen, the rumors indicated that the only way the driver could leave the team was if, after this race in Hungary, he dropped to 4th place in the drivers' standings. As of today, it's mathematically impossible for that to happen. Therefore, in theory, he can't activate the clause to leave the team. Despite rumors and reports from Dutch media, it appears Max Verstappen had already chosen to stay, irrespective of the clause. With this, the saga of Max Verstappen's potential exit from Red Bull is essentially concluded. And now we just have to see if the recent changes they've made will help get a team that's lost everything in the last few seasons back on track as they're trying to restructure as quickly as possible. Once again, Williams was the most competitive midfield car. This comes after the updates they brought to the Belgian Grand Prix, as we had previously reported. They seem to have found speed in that car, but their drivers say it's now a bit harder to handle. However, the car's speed and response suggest that Williams is once more moving in the right direction with this single-seater. Ready to take the reins of this fight again, so now we just have to see if Williams can show that same strength this weekend, and thus render their fight to be the best of the rest in this 2025. Sauber scored 2 more points in the Belgian Grand Prix thanks to Gabriel Bortoletto's performance in the latest race. And for Hungary, the approach is practically the same. Keep scoring points to challenge Williams. However, this car has the same problem. Its race pace is quite good, but in single-seaters it needs to quickly find the tire temperature window. In qualifying and on this circuit, it's extremely important to qualify as high as possible. So if they manage to overcome that again, the chances will be there once more for this team to score points again, which practically hasn't stopped improving for a few races now already. Liam Lawson has scored points again, showing he's gradually recovering from his disastrous and unpredictable start to the season. The Racing Bulls come to this Grand Prix needing another good result as they've lost more points to Williams in their ongoing battle, when in fact in Belgium they were betting on a double haul, and at least if the car responds. Both Lawson and Hadjar appear well prepared to achieve success on this Hungarian circuit. Aston Martin brought the most upgrades to the last race but performed the worst on the grid. And yes, this was expected due to their weakness on long straights, but also the upgrades they've introduced don't seem to have been a game changer for this team. Although for now Aston Martin says they're happy with the changes they've made to the car. Other than that, the car seems to struggle with balance and they have a hard time finding the right setup window to make it a much more balanced car. Aston Martin has struggled with this in recent races. So this weekend, the team led by Lawrence Stroll will try to understand where things are going wrong, to understand the package they put together and see if it can be fixed in the future. Because otherwise, the last races left for this team in this season will once again be completely torturous. Hasno had poor luck in Belgium's main race but earned substantial points in the sprint. And the Americans intend this weekend to get back to scoring points, and at least to get within reach of the Aston Martin agent, on a circuit that maybe doesn't play to their strengths like the Belgian circuit did. But we'll see what this team can pull out of their sleeve to defend themselves, or at least to go on the attack against the Aston Martin agent, who is close in the Constructors' Championship. And in the end, is the situation really still the same? They brought some upgrades to Belgium, but nothing major. Points will depend on a spark during qualifying. So under normal conditions, it looks difficult for them to score points in Belgium. However, on this circuit, it shouldn't impact them as much as in Belgium. But since it's a pretty tricky fast track, the weakness with speed may still be present in this car for this Grand Prix. This could again make it hard for them to achieve a good result. We'll see if they can score points this weekend. But at least at first glance, it looks pretty complicated. Despite the seeming difficulty, Gasly has somehow managed to succeed in the previous Grand Prix to get a couple of points that are vital for this team. Regarding the Hungarian circuit's weather this weekend, it's sad that I have to be happy about it. But no weather surprises are expected, at least for now, for the 3 days of competition. Only Saturday has a chance of rain, which for now is around 25%. Current indications suggest slightly high temperatures between 24 and 26 degrees, without any unexpected weather events. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for a Hungarian race on a dry track to face this new round of the Formula 1 World Championship. Finally, to conclude this preview, let's cover the historical facts about this Grand Prix and circuit, so you can take some trivia home with you. Hungary and Formula 1 may not have as much history over time as other countries like Monaco, England, or Belgium. But its debut in 1986 and continuous presence in the championship since then have already made it a Formula 1 classic, hated by many and loved by many others. A Grand Prix that joined the big circus thanks to Formula 1's failed attempt to bring the category to the Soviet Union. This Grand Prix entered as the best option to fulfill the goal that Bernie Ecclestone had when he was negotiating with the people in Moscow. It became the first Formula 1 Grand Prix to cross the Iron Curtain, and its layout has changed throughout history. While some corners and straights have been adjusted, the overall layout closely resembles the original proposal. Since 1986, and Hungary has only had one local driver in the Grand Circus, representing them throughout the history of Formula 1, despite having been on the calendar for so long. His name is Slot Baumgartner, who was a driver for the Jordan team in 2003 and for the Minardi team in 2004. He was an average Formula 1 driver who only scored a single point in his career at the 2004 United States Grand Prix, and where his best result in his home Grand Prix was the 15th place he achieved precisely in that 2004 season. Lewis Hamilton holds the record for the fastest lap in Formula 1 at this circuit, which he set in 2020, with a time of 1 minute 16.627 at the wheel of his W11. McLaren, with 12 victories, is the team with the most wins in the history of this Grand Prix, from 1988 up to last year's victory by Oscar Piastri. The top winners in the history of this Grand Prix are Ayrton Senna in third place with 3 victories and Michael Schumacher in second with 4. And the all-time top winner is the British driver Lewis Hamilton, who has achieved 8 victories from 2007 to 2020, being the absolute top king of this track. With that, we close the final piece of information before the Hungarian Grand Prix. With that, we conclude the preview of the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix of Formula 1, ladies and gentlemen. But I ask you, will this Grand Prix be where the battle between the McLaren drivers finally intensifies? Do you think any other driver or team could snatch victory from the Woking team? And of course, let me know who you think will be the top 3 drivers on the podium at the end of this Sunday's Hungarian Grand Prix. Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Goodbye. Subscribe to this channel, enable notifications to know when I upload new videos, and share this with your friends. I also invite you to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter accounts. The links will be in this video's description. And I'll see you this Sunday, for the recap at the end of the race at the Hungaroring. Thank you for tuning in and see you later.